Are you ready? Are you ready to use Ginger?
Bitch, I was born ready.
Yeah, I forgot about this.
Are you ready to use Ginger? I was technically born ready.
Yeah. Time to go over the latest Brockhampton album, Ginger.
Daywalker. Sorry, Ginger.
Brockhampton, Los Angeles boy band / hip hop collective. You know, they don't like being called hip hop collective. They're making hip hop music. What they want to.
Best boy band since One Direction.
They are a group formed of performers Kevin Abstract, Matt Champion, Don McLeodin, Joe Butt, Marilyn Woods, Bareface, and producers Ramil Hamnani. Ramil? I always want to say Ramel, but it's Ramil Hamnani. Jabari Menwa, and Kiko Murley.
And then there are also like a bunch of other members who work on
websites, clothes, digital design. I think
visual.
one of them just makes inflatables like ducks, so you can swim in. You can also one of them makes like sunglasses. One of them is literally just having a shoe shop, making shoes constantly. And he's not allowed to stop. They're mostly known for doing the Saturation trilogy back in 2017 with Saturation 1, 2, and 3. And they essentially laid their claim to being the front runners of alternative hip hop in this post Kid Cudi Kanye age, being the front runners. Post Odd Future, being the biggest hip hop collective since Odd Future. They basically persistently, in my opinion, got better with each release, to the point where you're gonna ask everyone what's their favorite of the Saturation trilogy, and they're gonna bring up a different one. Some people think it's 1, some people think it's 2. Me and Trevor thinks it's 3. That's the correct answer.
I think 1 is the best. Exactly. Feeding into the point.
You and Fantano over here, you just think what he thinks. You don't think what me and Trevor think. You don't think what the right people think.
Look, me and Fantano also agree about Boarding House Reach, so maybe you're just wrong.
That's not a good album, though.
Maybe you're just wrong. That is a good album. Fuck you.
But they persistently get better with each release. Members like Matt Champion.
Oliver, we do very strongly disagree about
Fantano doesn't care. I don't care about him. That was a meme I wanted to do for like a joke.
No.
You persistently just brought him up consistently to the point where he's our show now. And now the bit has become, now that the thing that we're offshooting.
Look, we've already said before, not on show, but if we reference him enough, eventually he has to know
reference. Yeah.
And then he has to reference us.
If we harass,
in which case we get views.
If we harass him enough, then at some point he will have to reference us because he will have to say our name while crying.
Mm-hmm. Look, I'm playing the game. I'm playing the game here.
I don't even know what the point was. Members like Matt Champion persistently got better in their verses, improved, and their narrative improved from 1 to 3 very highly. Members like Joba and Bareface got not Bareface, but moments
didn't really become involved
until Iridescence. We'll get into that second. But members like Bareface or Marilyn Woods and Joba got more shine in the later projects, became more key members of the group or key parts and key inclusions of the group, especially Jobo on Saturation 2. And they followed this up with the dropping of one of the main members, Amir Van, back in early 2018.
Sexual misconduct allegations.
And a whole bunch of other stuff of infighting, apparently. And they also signed to RCA Records, being so independent and being so set on being independent to being signed to a label.
And then teasing like 2 different albums before finally come out with a different album.
Iridescence, which is an album
that exists.
Trevor really likes it.
I like parts of it.
I don't think it's bad.
No, it's
the
not
problem
bad.
with it is that it's not that it's not Saturation. It's just like it came at a period where it was very awkward for them to produce a record as fast as they did, and as quick as they did, and it came out to be very soft rebooty to the point where members like Dom and Matt were kind of repeating themselves on things. Especially Dom, he basically seemed like a broken record of just Saturation 1 and the ideas he had, and even things I think he kind of matured on came into light on Saturation 2 and 3. He seemed to forgot about that and came back to 1 on Iridescence. And also it group's members didn't seem like they're getting the right focus. Bareface was obviously the highlight of it, but I think we just got too much Kevin and too much repetition of stuff he's already done.
It's a weird album where that the other 2 were made with Amir, and then with him being kicked out, they had to scrap them but still come out with an album. And I think they just made it too quickly, and they still had too much emotional weight to what happened to
Also,
Amir.
they try out too many new things in a time period where they kind of needed to get stable ground.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in this because this is the stable where they try out new things lyrically.
It's
but for the most part, it's a more traditional Brockhampton album.
Yeah, it sounds like a band or a group trying to figure out their sound again because they lost a key element.
Yeah.
Instead of taking the time to figure out what that sound is supposed to be and then making an album, they were making an album while trying to find that sound. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
You have moments like Tanya, but you also have moments where like where the cash at, which is like one of the best worst moments because it's just Merlin just like going insane. Yeah, it's it's not good, but it's
Merlin.
really entertaining.
It's Merlin. Merlin's probably the most entertaining, but not always like good number.
Kevin Abstract put out Arizona Baby, a really hybrid mix of R&B, pop, and hip hop earlier this year. I really enjoyed that, even though not a lot of people are super hype on that record.
I think it's okay
because I think it's a huge maturing for him because I feel like lyrically he pushed himself and sound wise he pushed himself way past a lot of his previous work in Saturations and past a lot of previous work on his pre-solo efforts. And I thought it turned out a really good maturing for him. And I was really interested in seeing going to this because I enjoyed the singles, but they didn't really do enough for me.
Yeah.
It was weird because it's like the sinking urge. I've heard this before. Because I feel like the singles, they're not challenging.
Yeah.
They're fun. I think the performances were good. I think the meshing made good. I think the members were highlighted really well. I think they felt like a collective. They felt like a boy band. Like it made sense. They felt like an actual group, and everyone was getting
the
equal amount of
singles
shine.
sound like Brockhampton figuring out how to make Saturation era songs of How to Mirror.
Yeah.
Instead of like moving on, it just sounds like okay, we reclaimed our footing with where we were beforehand with Amir, but without Amir, and doesn't have any sense of evolving.
Yeah. I think going over this album, it's 44 minutes, 12 tracks. I think the biggest problem with this is that we're getting to like a Kendrick Lamar, MF Doom scenario where you're an act and you have your name out there and you have projects attached to that name, and you have like 9 to 10 level work out there that's going to be attached to your name forever. Now, constantly, you're going to be comparisized to your other work. It's just how it works.
Yeah.
And it sucks that it works that way. But
because like no Kendrick album will ever be To Pimp a Butterfly
or Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah.
Doom has Mad Villainy and M Food. It's always going to be that like high that mountain you try to climb and you're not always going to face it. And it's very impossible to climb it.
Their first trilogy of albums, which kind of sucks for them. Because how can you compare to literally that solid of a trilogy ever again?
So with this, the biggest problem is it's not that it isn't as good. It's just not as revolutionary as because they've done this sound before.
Yeah,
they invented the sound and they're continuing it. And this is supposed to be the stable ground, which isn't the bad thing because I think they really needed this because Iridescence. The more I go back to it, the biggest problem is it just was so off and so confusing. This seems very It's not completely figured out, but it's figuring itself out.
Yeah.
At least narratively.
It's an album that was needed because Iridescence exists.
Yeah.
If Iridescence didn't exist, this album probably wouldn't be as necessary because it would just be a lot of repetition. But because Iridescence was kind of messy and not as stable, they needed to return to stable ground and then they can move forward again.
Yeah. So first, I think at least the first 6 tracks on this album is really just getting back to stable ground.
Yeah.
And the second 6 tracks is more about topics of masculinity, expressing emotion, the ability to express emotion. Also, tracks Dearly Departed going over the dropping of a mirror and how much, I guess, pent-up aggression some of the members have been feeling, especially Dom. I was not expecting that.
Who just went hard and aggressive.
Because there's certain things about that scenario I did not know that were kind of shined in the light. Which I think, one thing I think they were really adult-like on this is they didn't make that a mirror. They didn't cover it up until this point. Like, they made reference on a track on Kevin Abstract's last project. Very smartly, only made like a line or two referencing it. In this, they kind of explain it. Not to the point where we need to know everything, but they explain it to enough where a noteworthy figure is passed, and now it's time to explain kind of why, and some of the reasoning and some of the emotion, some of the heated feelings about it, which I think is the really adult thing to do. You get moments like Victor Roberts, where you get introduced to this. I'm not gonna say new member, but this new personality is new and
Kevin called him basically a member, so
is he?
He might be a member.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, if he is, cool. I like his style. Sounds good.
You get moments like Victor Roberts where it's talking about police brutality and kind of ongoing.
It's still like the single like emotionally like most raw moment.
I get shades of Jay Electronica on it, which
like,
is pretty cool.
Dom's bit in Dearly Departed was like raw and anger, but like this is just raw realism. This is storytelling rawness.
Yeah, and you also one of the things I kind of have a beef with that is like I like Ryan Beatty's voice. I don't like what he says. I don't like the immediate like we just go from Victor Roberts immediately into thank all my bitches for staying with me. Like I just think that's too hard of a notch to climb lyrically.
You went from talking about police brutality, drug addiction, the risk that you're putting your family because somebody just kind of left you with a bag of possibly drugs and you never really knew what was in there and the danger that was into. Like, I want to fake all my bitches for staying with me. Like, it's too much of a thematic, stylistic.
Sonically, it sounds fine.
Yeah, it sounds
lyrically,
fine.
it's two different contents.
Yeah, it's two different lyrical tones that should not be that close to each other.
How are the performances on this? Again, I talked about how they feel like a group now, and I think for the most part
Everything
sonically
everyone shines.
Yeah,
Bareface sounds as best. I've never been huge into Bareface.
I think now what he's really doing that's making it work for him is it sounds like he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
and that it's like this. It's emo rap influence. Passion, but also that unenthusiasticness and that nonchalantness about it that makes it really work. I think Marilyn is still the most
he's still the
rubbery, just strange oddity of the group. Joba is the most soulful. Dom is the most technical. Matt is just Matt. He's good.
He's always been.
And Kevin's always been the good ham. And then
I feel like Kevin's finally stopped doing a lot of the like vocal pitch shifting that he does a lot that like always kind of
I don't know what you're talking about. He does it all over this like
I mean like he still does it, but he's not doing it to the insane extent that he's done before,
because I think he's not on it as much because you either get people like Ryan Beatty, you get Matt has some vocals and No Holo, you have people like Joba doing some of the vocals, so it's like it's not just him constantly doing a lot of these hooks anymore or having like a rap hook or him doing vocals, so it's really interesting.
It's like I think every member is probably at their strongest right now, or at least like back up to the strongest they've been. Nobody's like doing weaker than they had before.
Some of the more interesting topics, Big Boy, Love Me for Life, going to the concepts of masculinity and the ability to finally express your emotions. Joba's emotion is he wants to stab you in the face.
Yeah. There's a lot of face stabbing in recent weeks.
Yeah. I like that blend of these concepts of somberness and the ability to find a steady ground after this harsh period, which is consistent. I think that part's consistent through this entire record. It really works. Going over the first half, I think moments like No Halo are really beautiful. I really like Joba's part on it. Same thing with Dearly Departed. I really love his performance of the hook on that. Comes very angelic, like very somber-esque. It works. Boy Bye is infectiously catchy. That intro with Dom where he's going like, everybody asks me how to deal with my person, man. Look, I don't answer any question. Whatever he says, rapid fire start is so infectiously catchy that I can't escape from my head. That and also the line Matt says, "Man, the shit bump like a belly when it's preggy or pregnant." I think that's what he said. I think he says preggy. I don't know, but it's like that is one of the smartest, dumbest lines I heard all year. I don't know why. I think that's just stupidly fun. You get moments Heaven Belongs to You with Slow Tie,
which is a great Slow Tie track.
Slow Tie we covered. Nothing Great About Brickin'. He's an upcoming British mix of hip hop and punk. And he's this new political disruptor that's coming into the fray.
He's great.
Enjoy it. He has a great performance. It sounds like nothing great about Britain. With some Rommel production, which is nice because Rommel has terrific production.
Just trying to figure out what's doing on my Brockhampton album.
It's weird because Victor Roberts, he's put with the group. Or at least put with Ryan Beatty and I think Joba. But he's like put into the fray and he has a longer portion. Slow Tie's just on his own, and Ryan Beatty's incorporated into this and the hooks. And he's incorporated as almost he's a member. Slow Tie isn't, and the track is nice. It just feels kind of pointless in the grander scheme of things, and it almost feels like it's gonna like build to something, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Which I think is the biggest problem. It's nothing on Slow Tie or the production. It just feels like there should have been more there.
The track just feels out of place.
Probably, I hate to say this, like probably my actual favorite track, the track I've been listening the most from this is I've Been Born Again. I think it's probably the weakest track on here as well. I think unenthusiastically, they're at their peak of like everyone but Matt is at their like weakest moment on here. Kevin just seems like he just doesn't care. He's just there. His verse isn't bad, but it's just like he's just kind of going through the motions. It feels like you have Bareface at the beginning, where he's just kind of he's like doing this weird like almost Outcast thing where he's like whispering to. It's like a mix between like 3 6 Muff or no, what is it? Ying Yang Twins and 21 Savage, where he has like out on the deck like that cool whispering intro. It's so like it's so nothing, but it's so infectiously catchy that it grabs the ear. Matt's wild out verse at the end, which the music video for accompanying it, that those shots of him in like the blacks, what is it? It's like they're in like it's going through the doorway, and the doorway shining light through, and it's this very high contrast area, completely beautiful. The best shot of the music video. I think that's incredibly choreographed and also poorly set up, put in frame. I really liked the production switch up on St. Percy with Only God Knows of the D-Flex song being incorporated in the hook. I think that's really cool. That beat switch up is nice. And that's really all I got to say. Yeah. I think there's a lot of themes being running through this. I think there's a lot of interesting things that they are trying out, but they're not the biggest experimental changes.
It's a return to form that was just needed.
They're doing subtle experimentation on this. So, like, having more features. So, Ryan Beatty, Slow Tie, Victor Roberts, they're on this thing. You have...
Unless Victor Roberts is a new member, in which case not really featured anymore.
Yeah. At least Ryan Beatty and Slow Tie. Yeah. Slow Tie is probably the first rap feature.
They had Jaden.
Jaden was more like background vocal.
I mean, he had a verse.
Did he? Yeah, I don't remember that being a verse. No, I remember that, but I don't remember it being a verse. I just remember him saying what Kevin said, just repeating that.
I mean, that's still like he was still given like a spotlight to say the same thing. It's still a feature. It's a notable. No, feature.
I wouldn't like. It wasn't.
It wasn't like any. He wasn't saying anything new, but he was still like being like a high.
No, I'm not. Like I also mean like he wasn't saying anything new. Like he was actually replicating what Kevin said. It wasn't like he just like was trying to be Kevin. It was more like he was saying the exact.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He's literally saying the exact same words.
Unlike his project last year, he's attempting to just be Bareface. Yeah. And his new project where he attempts to be Travis Scott.
One day he'll actually try to be himself.
Yeah. Nah, I think he should be his dad first.
This is a story all about...
I honestly, if Jaden released like corny 90s hip hop, I'd be cool with that. I'd be 100% cool with that.
Fun. That'd be legitimately interesting.
As we found out with that one Logic Will Smith track, it's terrible, but I'll let it slide.
It's at least entertaining.
But yeah, that's all I have to say. I think Brockhampton is maturing in subtle aspects, especially with their consistency of narrative on the second half and subtle things. But as a whole, they're not. They're more going back to old stuff to get back to solid ground.
Yep.
Keep in mind, those scores a few times right now. I'm feeling a big boy 8. Big boy 8 on this. Trevor really liked it. He's not here. He couldn't make it today. He says this is one of his favorites of the year. He was going to give it a 9.
I don't think it's that high.
Yeah, Trevor really liked it.
It's good. There's a lot of better projects out there.